Hey, here we are, cold open. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Vitruveo Spotlight. This is Nick Kalyani with Mike Purdy, and here we are on a special Tuesday instead of a Friday. Thanks, everyone, for being patient with us. It was kind of a long holiday weekend also, and we decided to just give the community a break. So here we are today. Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning. I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
A lot,
And
a
we had to
lot
do a
going
cold
on.
open because I forgot to put the countdown timer. So that
Yeah, I was so used to it. I was
I'm
like,
not in the
that's the
Friday
thing that gets me
mindset.
pumped
I'm not
up,
in,
and
yeah.
you took that away from me.
So anyway,
Anyway,
we have a special sort of out of band spotlight for you today, where we want to talk about the transition plan, and we have a lot of details to share with you. I want to thank Mike, and we also have a special guest coming. I want to thank him also for all the hard work that has gone into it. But without further ado, let's just get into it. Welcome everybody to Vitruveo Spotlight, Season 7, Episode 6. It's May 27, 2025, and here we are. Let's get going. Mike, take it away.
okay, let's do it. Good morning, everybody. Good to see everybody. A lot of familiar faces in the chat. So we're going to dive into some of the upcoming changes that we're making as an ecosystem, and try to add some clarity on where where we've been, where we are, and where we're going, and try to create some framework around that. So just to get started, we talked briefly that during the inception of Vitruveo, the goal was always to have a decentralized blockchain. And I think over the course of development, obviously things do have to be fairly centralized. And it's kind of interesting, if you do research on centralization and decentralization, the whole spirit of crypto was the idea of Bitcoin was a decentralized finance asset. And for security, for stability, so that things couldn't be manipulated, that sort of thing. Whenever you start incorporating smart contracts and building on chain, there has to be some layer of centralization. And centralization is more of a spectrum where you have, completely 100% centralized to, 100% completely decentralized. And our goal was always to try to move the spectrum from a purely centralized blockchain more and add more decentralized elements. And we're at the stage right now where the blockchain is, the ETH grade is almost complete. We're almost at the stage where the development is done. Now we want to incorporate more decentralized attributes and provide more security, more stability, have centralized repositories for all the assets on chain, but still have a leadership framework. And we're going to add some clarity to that today. So starting things off, this is a proposed consensus leadership model, meaning nothing is set in stone. We've organized the consensus leadership model, and we're going to be proposing this, and it's subject to approval. So there might be some changes throughout this particular model that we're presenting. So don't worry if you see any changes or anything like that, but everything is going to be very transparent and communicated with the entire community, and we'll kind of dive into this. So in terms of the topics, we're going to talk today about the consensus model. We're going to review the finances. We're going to review the burn rate, core team roles, some of the challenges, and then obviously getting into the tokenomics. So we'll discuss that a little bit. In terms of the overall framework of the new model, this is what we are proposing, that the Consensus Council, or the Vitruveo Council, will be made up of 3 buckets. There will be the core team, which is myself, Nick, and Age. Age is and Nick are obviously the co-founders, and I run operations. So those 3 things are going to be a part of the core team. The second is the Vitruveo Capital Group, and they represent the top 20 holders of the ecosystem. So obviously in a traditional DAO model or governance model, you have governance tokens, and they're typically weighted depending upon bag size. We did want to separate the top holders from the rest of the community. They have an equal vote, so there's no pro rata share or anything like that. But we did want to incorporate the Vitruveo Capital Group. This was a separate group that was formed by some of the top 20 whales, where they wanted to have their own kind of internal community to talk about strategies, things that improvements, that sort of thing, and then in order to communicate with that team. And we felt that with the Vitruveo Capital Group set up, it's a great segue to involve the whales into the decision making for the Vitruveo Council. So they're definitely going to be an asset for us. We also want to involve the community in terms of all of the holders, regardless of bag size, in order to provide an equal vote on some of the changes that are going to happen within the blockchain moving forward. So obviously, we will have the two community managers, basically Didi and Arco, who will be a part of the Vitruveo Council that will represent the community's interests and the community vote in terms of changes and strategic ideas that we're presenting. There will basically be 7 key figures on the multi-sig, and a vote of 5 will require a pass. Some of the decisions that we'll be setting up is obviously the Gnosis multi-sig, which all 7 will be on the multi-sig. We'll discuss blockchain budgets, treasury expenses, token events, strategic shifts, and consensus governance. So we will most likely meet monthly in order to review all of these different elements and recommend certain changes. Then things will be voted on. And then at that point, we can also do a budget review and that sort of thing. So all of this really does create a decentralized or a more decentralized trust and transparency for the entire ecosystem. And that is ultimately the goal. I think eventually, once we do transition into, once we start scaling and start getting more infrastructure built, more projects on chain, we then may transfer or transition back to a more conventional, where the core team will be made up of a CEO, a CSO, a CTO, a CPO, all of these executive branch levels. But I think for the time being, I think it's wise just to hit the reset button, kind of migrate towards that decentralized process to increase the trust and transparency. And that's kind of what our goal is. So this is something that we're building out right now. If we kind of look at the burn rate for the project, our initial burn rate was around 150,000 a month. If you guys remember, back in the day, whenever we started Vitruveo, we had some treasury assets from the Uxie sacrifice, and that really kind of sprung us into the initial budget that we had. And we had certain shifts. We had to scale up the team. We had a marketing department. We had a legal department. We kind of scaled things up in reliance on VC capital and that sort of thing. Unfortunately, some of those capital commitments didn't come through. So we did have to adjust the team. In I would say the fall of 2024, you noticed that there was a transition in the team where we downgraded, in the sense of not eliminated, but we couldn't support that big of a team with the burn rate that we had. So we wanted to cut costs, remove those roles until we can provide or incorporate sufficient capital within the chain. At that point, we reduced it to around 25,000 a month, which, or 75,000 rather, which, really incorporated the AWS fees and development costs, all of that. Once I joined the team probably last year, we started looking at the tokenomics, looking at staking, looking at some of the challenges within the tokenomics. We wanted to kind of improve those. We talked about doing a token listing, and we also talked about reducing the burn rate and cutting costs in order to be fiscally responsible and making sure that our spend rate was manageable. So Nick and I worked together on getting the cost down to about 25,000 a month. And now we're at a point right now where we want to even drill further down to reduce costs. So our proposed to the Vitruveo Council in Q2, Q3, we're really trying to get it to around 15,000 a month, which, we did kind of like a little preliminary breakdown here. The AWS fees, which is all of the servers, for the blockchain, estimating around 3,000. DevOps around 5,000, which is 24-hour support. In case the blockchain goes down, we do need to have that type of support. Salaries are at 3,000 right now, so very, very, very small. Miscellaneous subscriptions, that could be anything from Collabland to Zapier, all of these different little subscriptions that we need in order to operate the business. And then we have a corporate miscellaneous, such as legal filing fees and renewals and that sort of thing. That works out to be about 1,000. At this time, there are no core team salaries until we have a sufficient runway. So we want to really keep a very, very lean business and keep things really focused on scaling at this point, now that the blockchain is done. The mods and VTech are on tokens. So the VTech obviously is our validator support. They help assist all of the validators in keeping their nodes updated, and we have our own community for them. So they're all pretty much, those leadership is all pretty much on tokens. So this is kind of the proposal. We really wanted to kind of drill down, cut costs, and then focus on scaling. So that's covers the burn rate. In reviewing the tokenomics, one of the strengths of Vitruveo is our low circulating supply. Some of the challenges that we had was obviously the initial liquidity that was formed, within the protocol. We had, challenges with a bad actor in the space, and then we pretty much had to restructure everything. At this time, we obviously have a 60 mil total supply, 250 mil max supply. Obviously we're a rebasing blockchain, so eventually it will go to a max of 250 million through rebasing. But at this time, we're at about 60 million. There's about 8 million in wallets right now, 8 million Vitru, 2 million's in the bridge. We have 20 million that is staked, 6.4 mil is investing still. We have the perks pool of 8.25 mil. Treasury has about 5.22 mil. Boosters 1.9 mil. Those are the booster perks. And we have low liquidity. So these are this is our starting point. And roughly put, we're going to have roughly around 16 million in wallets, including vesting, not including perks. This isn't sustainable. So we're going to be working on a solution to dealing with that, not just staking, but additional solutions that we're going to present to the Vitruveo Council. And then at that point, we can vote on it. Nothing is going to be centralized in terms of these decisions. It really is going to be a think tank where we come together and present solutions. So the tokenomics and supply solutions are going to be reviewed by the Vitruveo Council. So some of the challenges that we have moving forward are obviously going to be the supply. If you notice, I've been harping about this for months and months and months, that the supply, we have to get the supply worked out due to the liquidity issues. So we're really going to have to drill down and get serious about the tokenomics and the math behind the protocol. The funny thing is that everybody wants green candles and everybody wants the price to skyrocket and moon. But if there's a mathematical problem with the supply, that has to be addressed. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. You have a hyperinflationary coin with very low liquidity. It's not going to work. That's why a lot of people have asked, hey, when are we going to do marketing? When are we going to do that sort of thing? It doesn't work because as the funds come in, they immediately get sold and the price just stays the same and it trades flat, and it'll trade flat for years. And I don't think people really understand that. So that's always been a battle of mine in order to communicate with the community that we have to take this seriously and we have to make certain sacrifices in order to fix some of these challenges and get things back on board. We're obviously, so that covers the tokenomics. The burn rate, we talked about that already. We really want to get that into the 13, 15,000 a month range, no more than that. And we've got some ideas to get that down in terms of shopping out, the AWS fees and really reducing costs. Obviously, the team took a cut. We're not taking any salary at this point for the betterment of the budget. So that's something that we're shifting to. We're in the process of a website relaunch, so that's going to be coming shortly. We should probably have that done in the next, I want to say I don't know, 2 weeks, somewhere around there. Don't quote me on that, but that's kind of our target right now. In terms of the original vision, the North Star, we started as an arts blockchain, or a blockchain for creators. We then transitioned into an arts and entertainment blockchain. And we're going to be making or suggesting to the Vitruveo Council a couple of tweaks, which are really exciting. One of the things that has always been a goal of mine personally, and Nick shares the same goal, is that we really wanted to start getting projects onboarded into Vitruveo. And that's a really a full-time job. And we really, it's always been my goal to bring on, really a position where somebody can really take on that role in terms of strategy. In, the Web 2 world, that would be considered a chief strategy officer. And we're not going to have necessarily titles right now, but for us, it really is going to be bringing on somebody that can tackle that and really provide that North Star, and from strategic standpoint, the direction on where we're going, our true identity, what problems are we solving in the Web 3 and even Web 2 space. And that's something that I want to really fix immediately. So we're going to be discussing and getting into that shortly. And then we want to cover the 6-month burn rate. So obviously Nick's going to get into this in a little bit, but the 60-day burn rate, we're good. All expenses are paid, debts are paid, but over the next 60 days, we're fine. But it's beyond that, where we really do want to create a revenue model, get some additional capital, revisit the North Star, and we really needed some counsel on that, and somebody that is a seasoned expert in that area. And I'm happy to report that I believe we found that individual. So we're going to be doing a brief introduction with him shortly. And then after the 6-month burn rate, so raising about 150,000, that will cover us until we have the Vlox gaming vertical that will be launched. Exhibit will be fully mature at that point, another 6 months, providing additional revenue to the blockchain, and then over the next 6 months, collaborating with other projects to get them onboarded. In the process of that 6 months as well, focusing on community building and rebuilding. There's a lot of trust that we have to develop and encourage, and we really want to scale the community. And part of that is going to be bringing in additional projects and bringing in their communities in order to grow that. So we've got a pretty good solid plan on what's coming over the next 6 months. With that, I'd like to introduce Dado. Dado is going to be heading up our strategy and partnerships for Vitruveo. Welcome, Dado. Oh, you just got to unmute.
Yeah, the classical issue. Hi, everybody. Hi, fellow Vitruveo.
Yeah. Hey, welcome, Dado.
Hello. Yeah, so welcome. Just to kind of give you guys a brief overview of who Dado is, and how do you is it Illich?
It's Illich.
Illich.
It's
Slavic.
Slavic.
Okay, very good. So Dado lives in Switzerland. He has a quite an impressive curriculum vitae. So he'll kind of go into a little bit of his background and his role within Vitruveo. But I've known of Dado for quite some time. I did not know that, I didn't really know what he did for a living, in terms of what his job was. But he was he's been a part of the community since day one, and he'll get into that. But I met him through the VCG group, and we did a presentation for them on some of the changes that we were looking to make. And I had a chance to talk with him, and it was just like a perfect match. It was kind of like a gift handed to Vitruveo. So I'll turn things over to you.
Before that, I just want to extend a hearty welcome to Dado also, and I want to thank you. You've been a member of this community and a very valuable member. And I'm very appreciative that we have people like you in the community, people who don't want anything but want to give, and want to give for the betterment of the project. And that's what makes our project really, really strong. It's folks like yourself. So welcome and thank you for all the hard work you've put into the planning for what we are about to present here today. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much as well. I mean, thank you for everything what you have done so far for us. And I didn't feel the urge to actually pick up an additional job. And I also didn't feel the urge of doxing myself. But why am I here? I mean, as you have mentioned, I've been with Vitruveo for the last 3+ years. And it's not only an investment for me anymore. I mean, I truly believe in the potential. I truly believe in what we intend to do. And in the last couple of weeks, also through the Vitruveo Capital Group, I felt more and more that I might be able to contribute more actively. And I see some crucial steps ahead of us. And that's what I will try to drive together with you guys. So, I mean, I have a strong business background. So as Mike has mentioned, I do business development for a living. I've been 15+ years in product development, strategy execution, business development in telecommunications, financial services, marketplaces, but also blockchain startups. So I'm not a random corporate guy. I work for big corporations, but also for small startups. And as you may hear, I am based in Switzerland. Mike has uncovered that as well now. But as I said, I'm here now to drive change together with the team. And I'm about to present it to you in the next couple of slides. So what you see here is our short action plan, or the action plan for the next 60 days, 6 months, and beyond 2026. So this is now the first orientation that we will give you. Of course, all of these elements will be elaborated quite extensively. I have already worked on a couple of these topics already for the last couple of days and 7 days, yeah. But phase one is, as Mike just mentioned, we are right now working on governance and consensus leadership. I will tell you more about it in the coming slides. Crisis and pivot strategy, what does that mean? I mean, what happens if one of us is not available or has an accident or whatever, or becomes unavailable? So how can we become more effective as a team? Plus, of course, what do we do about our economic strategy? Where do we stand with tokenomics? What do we need to elaborate in order to become more effective also as a business? So it's not only about throwing around with new tokenomics. It's really how can we generate business? So do we have a strong B2B arm? What do we do with B2C? And all of that needs to be elaborated in the tokenomics. Phase two, of course, Mike has mentioned it before. We will have a new North Star. It's not going to be something completely new, but it is important so that we have a clear focus. So what does Vitruveo stand for? And my personal view is we are not that far away from it, but we have way more capabilities than just being a blockchain for arts. And you will be presented that, and I hope you will like where we are heading to. Then fundraising, investor relationships. I mean, that's a bold term, but what does that mean? We have some opportunities already by hand where we could co-create MVPs together with them. So it's not only onboarding on-chain projects and startups, it's real corporates that have real world problems that we can try and that we will actually solve for them. This will bring in fresh capital, new capital, and it's not just short-term green candles. It's really working capital that we can use to build stronger as a blockchain, as a business. And this will actually, and eventually also be for the benefit of the community. Then going further, of course, growing the ecosystem also involves how can we attract developers to join to our layer one blockchain, and how can we become scalable. What is very important to me is that we will not build everything by ourselves. Scaling means we will have great projects and they will bring a huge boost to our blockchain. That's also very important for the coming 6 months. And then beyond, of course, it's always hard to plan too far into the future in such an agile environment and market, but we will perform market intelligence and research. We will think about mergers and acquisitions and as soon as we have the funds, we might also invest in strategic partnerships, but also unorganically grow with buying startups and so on. That's like an overview on the action items. Yeah, if we could move on. Then here, as you have seen on the slide before, governance and consensus leadership, this is now a matter of the next days. So you will see on all of the slides dates. These are now for orientation purpose. So some of them we might be faster on, but some others will not be on that very date. So they are not carved in stone, but we will move on as fast as possible. So now it really matters. The next 60 to 90 days. So these dates are really for orientation purpose. You will be informed. You will be informed as soon as we have something to propose, and we will strongly collaborate with the consensus leadership. Saying a couple more words here, it is really important that we are not like making a huge overhead. So it's not that we now create kind of an org chart, an old-fashioned one with all of the CX roles that you might imagine. It's really how can the existing team collaborate more effectively. So everybody will have his focus, will have their focus. We might, when we try to collaborate with other businesses, they will need to have a contact person, and they might relate more to kind of a, I don't know, chief operating officer, which Mike is, rather than us explaining them, okay, what is a consensus leadership? That's why we will be moving kind of hybrid. Then, yeah, as I said, the structure will be elaborated, you will be presented, and the treasury allocations will also run through this governance and through this model, with also with wallet and multi-sig wallets. Mike, do you have anything to add here?
No, that's perfect. Yeah, but I think in terms of we will expand on the governance leadership model. In the last AMA, a comment was made like, we don't know how to run a blockchain, and we had to kind of clarify, guys, we're not stepping away from the leadership role. I think we're just transitioning more into a more consensus leadership model. And I think as we secure and develop out the MVPs, at that point, we will adopt a more consensus CX leadership team that will be defined as liquidity is built and as capital is built. And because you got to remember that these type of roles require salaries, and salaries is burn rate. And so we really want to reduce costs as much as possible. Work together as a community project to really build up the foundation, secure the foundation, reevaluate all the North Star, our ethos, our MVPs, what problems are we solving. This is so important moving into 2026. And as there's so much great things that are happening within the crypto space, but I think that being focused purely on a DeFi vertical is not necessarily the smartest thing. I think we really do need to transition into Web2 solutions using backend Web3 technology. And that also provides more stability for the token. It provides more liquidity. It provides a very clear direction on who our customer is and what problem we're solving. So these are things that we're going to be working on together. And there's going to be very much a strong leadership presence, but it's going to be more collaborative. So that's how I would expand on that.
Yes, indeed. Then, as mentioned before, we will also look into how our current tokenomics, but also our economic strategy per se fits with our North Star that we are redefining now. So we have the rebasing, which is also kind of our USP, and the rebasing will cause that we'll have more tokens around, and this will be dealt with. So the core focus I have here is how can we create more utility around the token? How can we involve the token, especially in onboarding the on-chain projects and startups. So each of them will have a strong commitment towards Vitruveo, and therefore you do not have to fear about the 250 million that will just float around with no utility. That's exactly what we are dealing with in this topic here as well. Mm-hmm. So yeah, of course, I don't want to read it all down here. We will have a very critical re-evaluation also of the on-chain data and the macro trends, but right now I will not expand too much into that. No. So as mentioned before, crisis and pivot strategy, as the title says, of course, this is also for every normal business. How do you deal with risks? That's actually what we are elaborating here. So since we are a small team, we need to function. We will work collaboratively. So it's not just because I'm talking now about crisis that I'm the crisis manager, but it's really for us to have a common understanding of who has on one side which hat on, but how can we work as a team if somebody is not around. Same happens also for very malicious stuff like hacks, and what happens if we perceive suddenly regulatory pressure. We will be more exposed into B2B, and there we will also become stronger in terms of being compliant as an entity, really being business open. But as you also see, we will have a contingency SOP, but we will also have SOPs around everything else. So how do we actually create a business funnel? How do we create an SOP for onboarding new projects? How do we actually choose them, and so on? Yeah, that's it about pivot strategy. We move on.
Yep.
To the next slide. Mm-hmm. Do you have it? I don't see it yet.
It's ready.
Sorry, I still see strategic vision and direction. Here it is.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, can you? I'm sorry. Can you go one back, because somehow I have a. Okay, now it works. Strategic vision and direction. So as mentioned before, in the classical role of a CSO, that's going to be the bread and butter. We are not here for the short term and for a couple of green candles. It's really how will we evolve as a business? How will we evolve with our core verticals that we are building on? So you heard about it many times. What will happen in gaming? There are a lot of potentials there to be worked on. We will need also further fundraising there. So with the resources and with the capital, we will elaborate plans for 9 to 12 months and beyond. And then you will really also perceive some very fundamental stuff regarding gaming. We might also go back into different kind of creation. So we are the blockchain for creation. It's not just about gaming and filmmaking anymore, but this is also part of the long-term strategy, so to speak. And I will be driving that, of course, with everybody else. Also, you see here CTO. I mean, you know who that is eventually, but also with the whole team. Then I hear loud voices getting louder about a variety of use cases, be that DeFi or whatever else. We will elaborate that. But as I mentioned before, the goal is not that we build everything by ourselves. Where needed and where we see best-in-class solutions and best-in-class projects who want to collaborate with us, we will onboard those for whatever use case. And then fundraising, investor relations, as I said here, I already have a couple of shortlists and talks going on with potential corporates who would like to introduce an MVP together with us. But also wherever needed, we will have, of course, the right discussions with the respective VCs. My personal goal, to be honest, is still that we do not have to rely too much. I would like to see us in a position where we do not have too heavy VC involvement, but it's part of the nature that where we need heavy investments, that we will also be better equipped towards having these kind of discussions and having this kind of contacts. And yeah, we will, of course, elaborate along the way additional revenue generating strategies. So it's not all just about people buying our token. We will also have cross-chain revenue streams. We will also have off-chain revenue streams, everything for the sake of having the funds to invest in the further development of our blockchain, of our business, and eventually also stuff like buying back, creating new pools for investing into new verticals, startups, and so on. Yeah, last but not least, and I mean, I think that's going to be flip a coin question: who is the best slide developer in our team? But we will, of course, have new pitches and investor decks in place so that we can also attract some standard Web2 and old money corporates.
Yeah, I think this is such a very critical. We're in such an exciting stage in the crypto space right now. Before, with the new administration that's come into the office or into the space in the U.S., crypto adoption is at an all-time high, and we expect to see more regulation. And what we're seeing is prior to this shift in November, whenever Trump came into office, love him or hate him, it doesn't really matter. The benefits to the crypto space that we're experiencing are really going to be life-changing in so many different ways, and going to accelerate a lot of really creative solutions and forming a bridge between Web3 and Web2. Historically, since 2012, crypto has really been the bastard child of digital finance. And it's been laughed at, it's been called a scam, it's been called all of these things. Even Bitcoin has been called a scam. And now it's going to be the #1 asset in the world. It's on track to, in terms of market cap, overtake gold, which is just absolutely insane. Obviously, Web2, such as banks, institutions, Web2 companies, Wall Street, they've really veered away from crypto because of the regulation. There's strict compliance that has to be adhered to within the Wall Street and the banking infrastructure due to SEC regulation. But with a new SEC chair, with a lot of the shifts that are happening within the space, we're going to see a lot of innovative regulation that's going to come into the crypto space. And what that does is creates a huge opportunity for Web3 companies to form a bridge to Web2 in order to provide Web3 solutions for Web2. And I really see this as the biggest opportunity for Vitruveo, not purely a Web3 blockchain, but really a technology company that is providing solutions for Web2 companies. And that is what's going to bring in a lot of capital and really developing MVPs for the banking industry, obviously gaming, obviously the arts industry, and entertainment. So these are all very important things that are happening right now. And I think we have to adapt and adjust, not just have a 2017 mindset of what a blockchain is, but really think forward and what does blockchain technology look like in 2030? And how can we adapt now based on the trend that's happening? You have companies like Ondo Finance, XRP, HBAR, and so many others that are really starting to cross that bridge and really change the narrative of what Web3 means for Web2. And we want to be a part of that. And I think that's from a strategic standpoint, we have to be there. And we have to have a very clear North Star on what problems we're going to be solving as a blockchain. It can't just be a Web3 solution. It really has to be a Web2, Web3 solution, a kind of a hybrid, as Dado was explaining. So super exciting, and we've Dado and I have kind of dove into some potential solutions, with RWA, AI, some of these other things that are trending right now. I think that it's going to be great to dive into that. And but what we want to focus on is more token utility for Vitru, for the Vitru token, and focus on low-hanging fruit. Based on Dado's contacts within, with Swiss banks and with other blockchain ecosystems that he's a part of, how can we create products to service those particular clients and really create a B2B solution so that we can get just low-hanging fruit, get a lot of traction in, and we'll speak a little bit about that in just a little bit. So Dado, partnership development?
Yes. Here we will have a huge variety of partnerships. Of course, we are a layer 1, so it makes a lot of sense to explore and identify the best layer 2 solutions, be that bridges, wallets, exchanges, and so on. We will have these kind of collaboration, but we will also have, as we just mentioned now a couple of times before, enterprises coming in. So we will not sell them Web3 or blockchain for the sake of it, but we will solve real world problems. We will create there the utility, and that will move a lot of liquidity towards Vitruveo. I just read a comment about why the market is not trickling down into us. So basically, we will have strong liquidity through creating utility. And what is very important, within the alliances and enterprises, we will have additional verticals, but also strong topics such as RWA, so real world assets is a huge topic for not only for banks, for financial institutes, but for any kind of asset creating and value creating companies. Plus being at the interface to Web2. So we don't want to be the tech guys with the most beautiful blockchain, but the rest of the world doesn't understand us. We will be as simple as possible to collaborate with and to onboard with. That's also an ambition. Plus, in the end, we will create tool sets. We will create eventually also I call it self-onboarding service. So if you're a company and you need that kind of a solution that we provide, you might literally copy paste it for yourself. But we will also give hand in solving more complex problems along the way.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. And ecosystem and developer growth.
Yeah, indeed. Here, as you can read here, we will do some, I call it classical stuff like grant programs, hackathons. But I have mentioned before, we will have an SOP on that. So basically, we will incentivize everybody who wants to build on Vitruveo, and we will also give the opportunity that they commit themselves. So also by buying Vitruveo with the respective project. But ultimately, this is really about how might we attract the best developing people in the world to move over to Vitruveo. Good thing is it's not just ultimately us or somebody else, because a lot of the developer community will goes cross-chain more and more. And here it's really about telling them how simple it is to integrate with us and to be very strong about our USPs and what we do different and what actually the value is if you integrate with Vitruveo. And last but not least, and you have seen that also for other verticals already, overseeing the funds and accelerator programs. Accelerating programs means we will have more and more startups attracted, and with more liquidity, with more funds, we will be able to give them a boost. So having programs with a cohort, I don't know, 12, 15 startups, and then we will push them to the market, and that will actually give us the leverage and scale of having faster growing solution ecosystem.
Yeah, I think this is a really important thing that we want to move towards. Is the traditional DeFi approach is you create an investment product or some sort of project that is meant to pump and hopefully not dump. That's traditional Web3. And I think the narrative is shifting where we want to be more utility focused and offer real world solutions for Web3 and Web2. And a great example of that is, let's say, the Amazon model, where Amazon started off as a used bookstore, specializing in rare books. I mean, that's literally the humble beginnings of Amazon. And what they did was they created a model where it's not just like a Walmart where they're selling products, even though Walmart's is probably the largest retailer outside of Amazon. I don't know who is jockeying for first place, but I would think that Amazon is far surpassed them. But the value of what Amazon did was really allowed people to create their own stores and their own business within the Amazon model. That really pushed Amazon to a different level, where now people can make money within the Amazon ecosystem. And then they scaled from there, where they added additional products, they added books, they added music, they added streaming, they added AWS servers, they added so many other different types of verticals. And we really want to kind of imitate and then innovate that model, where we can really focus on real utility for developers and create certain, or at least bring on certain projects and protocols that are really utility driven. An example would be like a pump.fund. You have to understand that pump.fund is really what pushed Solana to the next level. With on-chain volume, they created a utility, a tool that allowed people to create a meme token in literally minutes. And this tool is really what drove on-chain volume to a new level. So it wasn't just one project, it was a tool. It was a project that was a utility, and it was a tool that really allowed other people to really monetize their ideas. And I really want to embrace that. And I think that's the direction that we're going. Okay, and we're getting a little high level here, but why don't we touch on market intelligence and research and that sort of thing?
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's always also part of the strategic work. And to be honest, I'm not sure if this is the most crucial bit to be elaborated until July, but we will have an initial framework of how we do market intelligence. So it's not just our gut feeling that we think something might work and that we just throw it into the market. We want really to have data-driven decisions as well, and really respect the current trends. So you mentioned before AI, real-world assets is really, it's almost the noisiest buzzword in the corporate world. When they start now really thinking about utility of blockchain, it's always in everybody's mouth, right next to AI. So we will have research on that. I mean, I will start doing that myself for the beginning, and who knows, maybe in future we can have more brains around that. Also, it's also going to be a team effort in the end. And but I will be driving that. I will be monitoring the industry trends. I will try to bring in also not only research but demand. So companies that come back to us and really ask us for research, that might also be an additional revenue stream actually. And in the end, publishing thought leadership. So this is also crucial. So if you want to be top of mind, you also need to generate meaningful content. Here, it will also go hand in hand with strong collaborations. So we will have our own website and our own platforms, but we will get more scale if we can push our content across the respective platforms, not only in the blockchain world per se, but also in the business.
Yeah. And then mergers and acquisitions, I can tackle this. This is, eventually once we get to a point where we're properly capitalized and properly funded at that point, based on the research that Dado completes, we can then focus on, potential mergers. But I think more acquisitions would probably be a better approach, where we can purchase, other protocols and projects and that sort of thing that help elevate our North Star and kind of our ethos and what problems we're trying to solve. That's how Facebook has grown so strong. That's how Amazon has grown so strong. They will basically purchase a very successful idea, so they don't have to work on development. They really just acquire. We see XRP doing that right now with Circle, purchasing USDC, which is just mind-blowing. What's going on? We're seeing a consolidation. We're seeing acquisitions, and in order to gain market share, and so I think that's going to be a part of our strategy, but that's going to be after we're well funded. Dado, thank you so much. I think that's, if I'm not mistaken, that's it. Yep. This time we'll bring in Nick, and we'll have more to report on some of these strategies that we're going to be working on. Obviously, this is all proposed, but we will have a formal framework to present to the community, and as we kind of tie up some of these loose ends. But it's a very exciting time for Vitruveo. I know it's always a bumpy ride, whenever you're making adjustments and transitions. But the goal is really to focus on MVP's true utility. And I think you're going to be a great addition to the team. So welcome, and thank you so much for all that you've done so far. We've had so many meetings, and we've covered so many like crazy big concepts, and I'm really excited to see how things are going to unfold in the coming months.
Thank you so much, Dado.
Thank you again. Okay, Nick, we'll turn it over to you. Did you want to present your own, Nick? Probably,
yes.
Yeah? Okay, let me remove this, and we'll let you
All right, great.
Take over.
All right, so I want to address my role specifically. I've got a lot of DMs about that, so I thought I'd take a moment here to really spell it out. But first, a sip of chai. Yeah, so I initiated this kind of transition to decentralized because we're coming up on the 2-year anniversary. July 23, 2023 is when I basically stepped into the line of fire and brought this vision for Vitruveo to our community. And since then, I can only describe the 2 years, almost 2 years now, as both brutal, really brutal, and also fun in a lot of ways, very challenging. And I want everyone to know that I'm completely and totally mentally, physically, emotionally, always a part of this project. I have no intention to step away. What I want to do is transition this truly to a decentralized project. And so I want to continue to serve on the leadership team, but I'll let the team decide, who will lead, what the limits are, and things like that. That's entirely up to the team. And I don't want any special role or any special privileges. Whatever is earned is adequate for me. I want to serve on as in an advisory capacity, and I want to promote Vitruveo. So wherever I'm speaking in public events, etc., I want to promote Vitruveo as much as possible and be its loudest champion possible. So that's kind of what I want to do. And one of the biggest challenges we will have is applications. So as many of you know, right now I'm sort of the sole developer. So I maintain all our contracts and all the applications for Vitruveo. So it's a big lift, and I really want to start transitioning some of that over. So hopefully we'll get some more developers on board, but developers cost money, and that's one of the reasons why we don't have a big team. Most of the development effort where we have paid for it is on the Web 2 part of Exhibit. The Web 3 part I still take care of. So I want to transition it over. So I just want to be very clear that I'm not going anywhere. I want to be part of this community. I want to always be there, giving ideas, sharing ideas, being inspired, and help as much as possible. I come from an open source background, and my philosophy is always to gravitate towards more community and things like that. But more importantly, I've been but have been a leader in this space. And I feel that a mark of a true leader is one who doesn't create followers. one who inspires others to become leaders. And this is what I am especially proud about, that we are seeing more people stepping up to lead in Vitruveo. And that warms my heart, because that's exactly what I want to do. My greatest legacy is not in holding power, but in passing it on wisely. And I feel we are on that journey now. And I want to thank folks like Mike, Dado, Ariko, especially big shout out to Garfield. And these are folks who are stepping up and really helping shape the future of this protocol. And I'm truly excited by that, and it makes me feel proud of what we have created here together. Speaking of that, I do want to take a moment before I go on and talk about some of the other aspects of the transition to focus a little bit on Earn. We were talking here in. Thanks for the excellent presentation, by the way, Mike and Dado. But we are talking about opening up Vitruveo to other types of projects, etc. And I'd just like to point out one that is that Garfield has brought, which is Earn. Right, it's a massive DeFi project, and I'm very excited to see that they are about to hit their $1 million mark here, which should be maybe today or tomorrow or something like that. The part that's really exciting about this project for me is how Garfield has very generously given back to the community in terms of liquidity. So as you can notice, you probably noticed that the price on Vitru, etc., is going up, and that is entirely because of these funds that are being pumped in here. So $123,000 so far, and coming up next week, we will have the print on demand finalized. And we're going to start injecting liquidity into Exhibit also. So that's now at $6,400. And I expect that by the time we get to next week, it'll be much, much higher. So a huge shout out and a huge thank you to Garfield for that. I'm especially happy that I got a chance to collaborate on the new thing that was introduced, which is the folio of tokens. And Garfield told me that to announce that the community should be ready to hear some big news coming up about this, some really earth-shattering news about EFTs and FUs. So stay tuned for that. But anyway, getting back here, on a normal spotlight, we also give updates on other things. But today, I just want to take a quick minute to update on a few things. One is Exhibit. The print-on-demand finalization is coming along really well. And we are on track to go live with it for all artists in the first week of June with the new liquidity that's there. That's important. One other thing is I can't give you all the details, but expect something really big around mid-June, really big. So that's I'll leave it at that. So with that out of the way, I think the next thing is about protocol. I think Mike alluded to it also. As I had said previously, we are going to actually get the changes deployed before we announce a date. So I just want you to know that that is on track. Nelio is working on that along with SO and the rest of the VTech team. That is going along really well. All right. With that out of the way, let's go to continuing with the transition plan. So I want to talk just a little bit about finances. You've heard already, the details around burn rate, etc. But one of my goals and aspirations as a leader is to make sure that come July 23rd, that as the team takes over, we're already transitioning into that. It's not going to be like, here's a switch, or we turn it off and we switch over. We are gradually moving into that already. And many steps have been taken for that. But I want to make sure that we start off with as clean a slate as possible. So what that means is want to make sure that all prior liabilities have been paid as of that time. So we start off with no liabilities, and we are well on our way to being there. I also want to ensure that the new treasury multi-sig that we'll create with the team has a 60-day runway to cover expected burn rate. It would be unfair to say that, okay, here, take this over and now figure out how to pay for it. That would be very unfair. And so I want to make sure that there's at least a 60-day runway so the team has time to orient itself and figure things out. Now, we talked about various revenue sources. Dado in particular has talked about bringing enterprise partners, etc., which is phenomenal. We really need that. But we want to establish some base revenue sources that are always there. And so what we want to do is make sure that the verticals that we are building on top of the blockchain, that there is a monthly payment from them that comes into the protocol while it's needed. At some point, it's going to be self-sustaining, but in order to help with the monthly burn rate, we're going to have the verticals pay in from whatever capital they have raised, and share. It's a shared burden. We also want to have controlled sales of Vitru tokens when possible. So when the market is right, when the price is right, we want to use those tokens to fund treasury, but in a very responsible way. Just want to that obviously it would not be very good for us. It would be self-defeating in order to sell tokens when the market is not right. So this would be when it's positive, when the price is right, and just to cover some expenses. All right, so that's it on the finances. I think you've heard all the other details that Mike shared. Now I want to go into the protocol aspects of it, which I think are important. When you do a transition like this, it's important that all the details around the technology are covered well. So let's look at those. So first and foremost, we have infrastructure. So what we want to do is we want to essentially, we already started the process right now of splitting out what's exhibit and splitting out what's protocol from our single AWS account right now. So we're going to have separate AWS account entirely dedicated to the protocol, and all it's going to have is the protocol related stuff. We also want to make sure that every single domain we use is controlled under our Cloudflare account. And as many of you who are technical know that Cloudflare is used as DNS by many protocols and many companies because it provides a very resilient form of DNS that is protected against attacks and things like that. It's very scalable. So we already use Cloudflare, and we'll make sure that everything is covered under Cloudflare. Mike alluded to a burn rate of around 2.5 to 3K a month for infrastructure and AWS. So I want to talk about a little bit about what that covers. So we have RPC clusters. So these are when your wallet gets a balance, or when you write an application that interacts with the blockchain, you're hitting our RPC cluster. It's called a cluster because it's actually a number of servers, and they appear to be one server, because when your request goes in, it goes to the least busy one and says, here, you're idle, you take this request. So we have clusters for both mainnet and testnet. And so those need to be paid for. We also have multiple fault-tolerant mainnet and testnet nodes. So validators have individual nodes. Some people have many nodes. Those are typically run on sort of a hosting provider or account like that. You can get those for, I don't know, $20, $50 a month. Some are more expensive, $100 a month. This is not those nodes. These are higher performing machines because they pick up a bulk of traffic, not only from handling the RPC requests, but they also have to respond to new incoming nodes or nodes going offline, etc. So these are more fault-tolerant nodes. They are not your run-of-the-mill vanilla node that's on the blockchain. So we have them for both mainnet and testnet, and we have multiple ones of those. We also have servers similarly configured for Explorer, which is actually Block Scout software. That's the open source software that pretty much all blockchains run in order to index the information that's coming in and share with you. Now, there have been some issues that people have reported with Block Scout, etc. But just keep in mind that it's open source software. We don't control that. We just update it. So if you have a need for something, you go to Block Scout and report it, and we just update our version of it. All we can do is really brand it a little bit, but beyond that, we won't make any changes to it, because that was a mistake we had made previously. Once you make a change, you're stuck. You cannot upgrade it as Block Scout upgrades it. So we won't do that anymore. We are just using the off-the-shelf version of Block Scout, and it works very well. So we have servers for mainnet and testnet. So as you can see, the infrastructure aspect of this is non-trivial. There's actually loads and loads of servers that run and cover all the public service aspects of it. Now, the fact is that anyone can run an RPC server or cluster. Anyone can run Explorer, and people do. But in order to run it on a server that's performant and can respond to multiple requests and doesn't go down, etc., that's a whole new level of IT. And that's why we need infrastructure team in order to support this kind of stuff. It's not as easy as it sounds. Maybe it doesn't sound easy. I don't know, but it is a bit of work. So we will have that separate monthly cost for the infrastructure support team. So when these servers go down, etc., the blockchain itself is a blockchain and it won't go down. It's the nodes that these services that we have to make sure are always present. Okay, moving on. We want to talk about smart contracts. So there are approximately 10 protocol-specific smart contracts, and if you add the exhibit ones, that's probably 25 altogether. But those are all separate. So let's focus on the 10 protocol-specific smart contracts. So what do we have here? Like we have staking, we have the vesting, we have VUSD, we have wrap, Vitru, we have Vitru tokens on other chains, etc. So there's bridge contracts. So there's a fair number of contracts, and for each of one of these, we're going to take one of two actions. So if a contract is stable, it's performing well, there's been no issues with it that we are aware of for a long time, what we want to do is, in the spirit of moving to decentralization, make it completely immutable. What that means is removing all accounts that have any administrative and upgrade role on that contract, and actually even removing the upgrade functionality. So at that point, that contract is as blockchain contracts were intended to be, fully immutable, completely unchangeable, and you can fully, it becomes trustless. You just trust the code. So that's what our goal would be for a majority of the contracts. Now, there will be some contracts that by design need to evolve over time. And so what we want to do is we want to move the upgrade permissions of those contracts to an admin controlled to a multi-sig. So it won't necessarily be the same folks there, but they can delegate and appoint developers or technical minded folks in the community to have a multi-sig, so they can then have responsibility, a joint responsibility for the administration of these contracts. So we're going to do that. Next is services and credentials. We already have everything very well controlled in 1Password vaults. So we don't have like people, copy pasting passwords in Notepad or whatever. And all credentials have two-factor authentication enabled. So it's 30-second codes. No SMS or anything like that. It's always using authenticator, OTP. And we also want to make sure that all the services that are Web 2 are billed to an organization-controlled credit card. So we'll have a credit card specifically that's corporate, and we'll bill all the services to that. And that'll ensure that there's no personal credit cards involved in the process. Next is domains and applications. So one of the things that is very important to any protocol is to ensure that its domains, meaning Vitruveo.xyz, Vitru.xyz, Vitruveo chain.xyz, etc., are all owned by the protocol. And we are well on our way to doing that. I think we have one left to take care of, and then it'll be owned by the protocol under the control of the consensus leadership. We also want to make sure that all of our applications are consolidated under one Vercel account. So we use Vercel for our applications. And so we have Scope, Swap, Bridge, Faucet, VUSD. So I maintain all of those applications, and they are currently already under one Vercel account. We want to make sure that those credentials are also delegated and available via 1Password to the dev team as it grows. One thing in particular that I care about deeply is open source, as I mentioned, and I want to make sure that all our code is open source and available to everybody on GitHub, and specifies an MIT license. So this is probably something that needs a little bit of housekeeping work. I think there might be a few repositories that might not be public, so we'll make sure that those are taken care of, and we'll make sure that they overtly and clearly specify an MIT license. So if you're into licensing, especially open source, you'll know that there are some there are different types of open source licenses. There's GPL, there's Apache, there's MIT, there's BSD, etc. So all of these are different flavors of basically the same thing about the rights you give to people. MIT license is the most liberal license of all. You're basically saying to everyone, take this code, whatever we've done, whether it's Scope or whatever, take it, do whatever you want with it. The only thing you cannot do is remove the copyright from the source code if it exists. Now, because we are a protocol decentralized, we don't even have a copyright note. So it basically means take this code and do whatever you wish with it. You can resell it if you want. You can take it, put your label on it, and publish it. You can do anything you want, literally. So that's the liberal type of open source license we want to give to everybody. So other people can build on these tools, these things, and use them for their own benefit. Now let's talk a little bit about the verticals. So as you know, one of the focuses of this whole presentation has been about the protocol, right? But we've got exhibit, we've got blocks, we've talked about the details on that in various other spotlights, and have kept you apprised of the developments on that. So what we want to do is state very clearly here that what we are doing is partitioning our project into separate units in order to make sure that they are independent and functioning that way. So let's talk about that. So the four projects are Vitruveo, Exhibit, Blocks, and FlixFund. They'll all be separate and independently funded, operated, and managed by independent teams. So each one has to figure out what it needs to do in order to succeed as its own standalone entity. We basically want different teams focused on each of those, because that way we ensure the greatest success for all of them. We do want to have certain obligations from the three projects. One is that they will pay a monthly service fee to support protocol operations until at least December 2025. So as I mentioned earlier, we wanted to have some of the burn rate for the protocol covered, and it makes sense to have the verticals cover that. We also want to say that if any project came from Vitruveo, there is an obligation to have a minimum of 2% share of all revenue from all sources, no matter if it's current, future, go to Vibe in perpetuity. So that is something that all projects these projects that we've built will have to honor forever. And it might be more than 2% also. That's up to the project. No other obligations exist. So that way, these projects can thrive unto themselves, make up their own tokenomics, make up whatever plans they need to in order to raise capital and grow. But as they grow, we succeed. The success comes our way because it comes in via Vibe. Now, Dado has brought to the table a fourth vertical, and I'm excited about that. It will focus on B2B enterprise solutions, including RWA, which, for those of you who don't know, stands for real world assets, which is a hot topic. So really excited about this fourth vertical. But what we want to emphasize here is that there's a clear separation of concerns. There's no intermingling of funds. There might be overlap of people, but they would work in their own capacity on two different projects if that were the case. There's going to be no overlap of infrastructure. So all the technology is going to be completely separate. And for all practical purposes, we are going to see these projects thrive and thrive by themselves and succeed by themselves. So even the updates will be separate. So you won't see them all conflated into one. We'll have separate sessions in order to focus on that particular project. All right, I think that covers it. So Mike, Dado, if you want to hop back on, we can answer any questions. I guess I didn't put the URL on here, but it is going to be available. Let me go back to the homepage here, and yeah, there it is. So let me go ahead and get that.
Double check the file name, Nick. That it's S7E6. I just wanted to double check that.
All right, I'll get that going while we answer any questions, and I'll also make sure it's got the right permissions. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you, Nick. Yeah, guys, let's open it up, and if you guys have any questions, I'm going to start. I've had a chance to star some questions, but I do want to kind of echo what Nick was saying in the sense of some of you might have some Blocks updates, and some of you may want exhibit updates. We will be doing separate AMAs for those, or potential announcements, minor updates, that sort of thing. The problem is that when you have just Nick and I trying to lead 4 different verticals, it's impossible to do anything well. And I think that the idea was always to get the protocol completely or more centralized, have it run itself, have the certain the burn rate covered by operating income, and then at that point appoint department leads for the different verticals like exhibit blocks and potentially Flix Fund and the 4th vertical that we're looking at. That will allow us really to drill down and focus on scaling and really being successful within those verticals. Otherwise, we're just spread too thin. And so this is all really exciting developments that I'm excited to get into. In terms of just for those of you that do have questions on blocks, we will be opening up the blocks Discord server very soon. We've got pretty much everything worked out. I just have to have a meeting with Funkmaster regarding that, and we'll just make sure everything is ready for everyone. And then we've got some really exciting things to share. In terms of development for blocks, the first version or the first draft of the gaming design document is complete. I received that yesterday from the developer. It's 114 pages, and it's very technical. So I have to go through it and double check everything, and at that point, then we can transition into the final white paper. But the game design document is really the back end of how the game works in terms of all the gameplay is. It covers everything. So we'll have some exciting updates on that very shortly. I'm sure I'm going to get some questions about tokenomics, the pre-sale, all of that. We'll get into that within the block server. So just look for that invite, and we'll make that known. So let's kind of tackle some of the questions. Aris had quite a few questions, so thank you always for your contributions. Dadler, aka Dado, do you have any expectations, plan or business plan for the blockchain in onboarding projects that we can review? The answer is no, not yet. But I think we can kind of visit this at a high level. We did talk about the RWA. Obviously, what is some of the potential, speaking to the 4th vertical that we're talking about in terms of real enterprise solutions for Web 2, what are some of your ideas and that we're exploring? Maybe you can speak to that.
Yeah, I can give it maybe a working title of Vitruveo Integration Hub. So we will be twofold there. So it will be let's call it a one-stop shop where you can serve yourself as soon as we start having modular scalable solutions, but we will mostly rely on collaboration, co-creation in the very beginning. So for when it comes to off-chain, so Web 2 and standard corporate demand, so solving real-world problems for them, that's going to be always also kind of an exploration work for us. But as soon as we identify potential for some modules to be scalable and reusable, we'll put it into the store. And this might be kind of that integration hub, which will be usable for other developments so that they can serve themselves. There will be actually a cost model behind it for the usage, and this will be also kind of a scalable revenue model for us.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Let's move on. Why not remove perks? Will it solve the tokenomics issue? So we're looking at all different options for the tokenomics. Obviously, perks, booster perks, and the OG perks accounts for about 10 million, almost 20% of the supply that has no liquidity backing. Yes, we can kick it down the curb, stake it. We can repurpose it, put it back in the treasury, and then sell it using OTC deals. We can distribute it recklessly. We can do so many different things. And I think that this requires a lot of very careful analysis of the math in terms of the commitments, in terms of blockchain success. We're going to be looking at everything. This is not an easy problem to solve because math is math, and it's I can give everybody right now an airdrop of 10 million Vitru, but if the Vitru isn't worth anything, what's the point? So we really want to be focused on Dadler, the consensus leadership team. We're really going to be focused on driving utility for the Vitru token. We're going to be monitoring very closely the inflation rate of Vitruveo. We're going to be monitoring liquidity, and we're going to have separate plans for all of these different challenges. And what we will do is we will present it to the consensus leadership team, our strategy and potential solutions. And then we will decide as a group, as a community, in partnership with BCG, in partnership with the holders of Vitruveo token, and in partnership of the consensus leadership team, we will work together and place a vote on what's best for the blockchain. That is how I can answer that. Dado and I actually literally just had a meeting about the perks last night, and we're exploring solutions right now to present to the community. And at that point, we'll then do a community vote. We'll give you what our opinion is and what we feel is best for the blockchain. But at the end of the day, it's up to the community to vote and solve those issues together. So great question. And yes, we're on top of it. So Vitruveo blockchain will be managed separately from Exhibit and Blocks. This will have different wallets, accounts managed, tracking expenses and revenues. Yes. So just think of Exhibit and Blocks as verticals of Vitruveo that will have a separate treasury, separate leads, and separate budgets, all of that. The problem is that whenever seed capital would come in to Vitruveo, because we were trying to build these verticals, there was so much overlap and so much confusion. It was very difficult to run a healthy budget and scale each of those independent. So having a separate treasury for those, having CEOs or leads of those projects, and giving them the sole responsibility of developing the project and scaling the project is the right thing to do, and really keep the blockchain completely autonomous to those projects. However, there will be a financial and fiduciary, not fiduciary, but more of a financial tie where those verticals, our core verticals, will be contributing to the burn rate of Vitruveo for a certain amount of time. And then the burn rate, the burn rate will be a certain amount of time. And then of course, Vibe will be in perpetuity. So hopefully that answers your question on that. Where do you see Vitru in 5 years at this rate of development? Great question. It's difficult to estimate, but this is what I'm confident in. I believe that by focusing on true utility, on the B2B solutions, on the direction in terms of strengthening the foundation we have for the protocol, where Nick is able to focus purely on Exhibit, I'm able to focus purely on the gaming. Dado can focus purely on the North Star, as well as building out the B2B solutions for Vitruveo. I am more confident than ever that that's the right strategy. And our focus is not trying to sell a token that is going to appreciate. Our goal really is to provide utility and focus on MVPs that drive revenue into the blockchain so that the token has inherent utility. That is the goal. And in doing that, the community grows, the token grows, everybody wins. So I'm more bullish than ever on Vitruveo's future. I think we just have to do some housekeeping, do some cleaning, and throw some paint on it and get everything cleaned up, and then it's all good. How many verticals do we have? We have 3 official, which of course is the protocol, blocks, Exhibit, and those are the 3. And then we have Flix Fund that is pending. We just need to get some the MVPs done on blocks and Exhibit, which Nick and I are working on independently. And then at that point, Nick and I just discussed FlixFund this morning, that we'll have a game plan for that and appoint a lead for that. But we still believe in that particular model is kind of an investment pool for the entertainment industry. It is a massive need. There's a lot of really incredible things going on in the entertainment industry where studios are bleeding. They have way too much overhead. They're not nimble. They're not able to correct easily. And I think that working with Dado, that is one of the things that we do have connections with the entertainment industry, specifically in Hollywood. And it's quite possible that we might be able to incorporate FlixFund within to solve some of the Web 2 problems and actually partner with studios, not try to compete or replace them, but really provide a B2B solution for the studios. And that's going to be a little bit of the development that needs to take place. But Dado and I haven't had a chance to talk about that, but we're excited about having that conversation because I think it's definitely an opportunity. Mike, on the burn rate slide, what's the difference between salaries and team salaries? Yeah, so let me clarify it because that's a great question. In terms of salaries, the core team has not been on salary, or we're not on salary. We have had salaries in the past, but we're moving forward. We don't have any salaries. We're really just donating time. We don't even have token allocations in the sense of being paid tokens every month. We're really just believe in the vision, and we're going to really focus on, Nick's going to focus on Exhibit, getting that profitable, and I'm going to focus on Blocks and getting that profitable, and our revenue prayerfully will come through that. In terms of team salary, there's only one person that's paid by the blockchain, and that is Arco, and he really takes care of the blockchain research. He does so much on the back end, and we really needed to compensate him for that time because the amount of research that he was doing, he was spending 10, 12 hours a day on a lot of the tasks that we were giving him. And so we felt that a nice modest salary was justified. Nobody's getting rich, right now from these salaries, trust me. Especially now, but hopefully that clarifies that. So be nice to Arco. He's been amazing, as well as all the mods. Thank you. A special shout out to all of the mods. And we also didn't really talk about. There's a lot of unsung heroes within the blockchain, echoing what Nick was saying about all the people that have risen up and really taken on responsibilities. Le Sorcier, CMB, Didi, Arco, Biz. Funkmaster has really been an incredible asset for building out the Blocks Discord. So thank you, Funk. And we're really excited about scaling Phantom. I don't want to name everybody, but I don't want to leave anybody out at the same time. So please forgive me if I didn't mention your name. And then there's obviously the community that we have, our #1 fans and our cheerleaders that have really done a lot of support. Obviously Mystique. And those of you that have, who you are. So thank you for all that you've done. Let me just see if there's anything else.
There's a question from AA, which we did not star.
Let's see.
I have a prior commitment, so I'm going to hop off here. I think you and Dado can handle all the questions. So thanks, everyone.
Yep. Thanks, Nick.
And see you around. Bye-bye.
Okay, we'll see you.
Goodbye.
Let's see.
It's AA. All my question relates to the fourth vertical, business to business. Will this have a minimum 2% contribution to Vibe? So I absolutely want to make it mandatory for the on-chain projects to contribute to Vibe. If that's going to be 2% or even more, that's to be defined yet. But talking about commitment means that they will contribute to also to the revenue share model of the blockchain.
Okay, let me answer this one. I know that AI Wars will have an optional Web3 solution for its token. Will the other verticals use Vitruveo in any way in the future? Yes. So obviously, Vitruveo is going to be the core token for the ecosystem, for the blockchain. So every project and vertical within the ecosystem will have its foundation within Vitruveo. Yes, Blocks will have its own token. I think Exhibit will eventually have its own token as well. But those are within their own ecosystem. And then obviously transaction volume will drive utility towards the Vitruveo token on chain. So hopefully that answers your question on that. Let's see. Will the different wallets for the different verticals be multi-sig wallets? I think eventually. In terms of, obviously you have to scale into these things. The teams are very, very small. Exhibit is now Nick and possibly you, Mystique. For me, it's going to be a very small team. A lot, even billion-dollar gaming companies on the Web3 side or the mobile gaming side, a lot of them are just 20 employees. It's really bonkers, and they're doing $1 billion in business a year. And a lot of them will just create one title, maybe two, and then they just disappear because they're just swimming in cash, and they're just like, okay, I'm good. There's no need to develop another game. like we hit a home run. So I think in the beginning we'll have to be pretty nimble and build that. But I think multi-sig is the Vlox is going to be a little more Web 2, a traditional corporate structure. We will have a CFO, we'll have the books and that, but we're not going to be a DeFi meme token or Web3 protocol. That's really not the vision of Vlox. It really is going to be a more traditional Web 2 company with a Web3 architecture and backend. So it will function more like a Web 2 company. We'll have a leadership board, we'll have an advisory board, and we'll have traditional CX roles. I think there will be eventually, once we're capitalized, we'll have a multi-sig, but there's no capital right now, so we don't have to worry about that. Same with Exhibit, but I do see that transition happening once we're capitalized. Let's see. Will the music be a vertical on its own or under Exhibit? No, I'm pretty sure that music will be its own vertical. It has its own problems, it has its own solutions, and I think it should be separate from Exhibit. Streaming obviously would be more of a feature of Exhibit. Anything art related is going to stay within the Exhibit vertical. So, but music will be separate. Okay, I'm just going through the rest here. In terms of, will there be an update to Vibe and Verse earnings projections? Yeah, I think that's something that once we fix some of these core foundational kind of North Star issues and really focus on this change, I think that we will be able to provide some sort of insight on Vibe projections. But again, projections are just projections. They don't mean anything. It's really if-come. People love to see projections because it's exciting and they love calculators and that sort of thing. But Dado and I will work on really looking at the income that we can generate, but it's scalable. So it's very difficult to know. It's kind of like, where's Bitcoin going to be in 10 years? Like we really don't know. There's just no way of knowing that. And there's a lot of variables. However, we will be looking at doing projections. One of the things that Dado and I talked about doing is, until we can afford a CFO for Vitruveo, we're going to be building out a 6-month budget plan after the 60 days. So we have the 60-day burn rate covered. Really on the 90th day or the third month through the end of the year, we're going to be developing a budget and really working on kind of addressing those issues in terms of the income. For the Vitruveo plan, yeah, I talked with Nick about that 2 days ago. So Nick has got some ideas on how to transition Vitro, in terms of staking, in terms of utility. That's also going to be something Dado and I are going to be working on in partnership with Nick on the plan for Vitro in terms of DEX token. There's a couple of ideas on the table. We're also working, we're going to work with Didi on that as well in terms of the Vitruveo exchange. So there's a couple of ideas that are floating around right now. We just got to deal with some of these core foundational issues. And I know we keep saying that, but it really is important to fix some of these base issues. Okay. Yeah. In terms of LP pools, yep, that's going to be another thing, Jason, that Dado and I and the team are going to be looking at for liquidity providers to add liquidity to Vitro and Vitro. That's going to be part of that component. We're actually, Dado and I just talked about this last night, is we're putting together all the different to-do lists on all the various things that we have to do. And we're just prioritizing them right now. So it's definitely coming. I don't have an update on V3 DEX at this time. However, Sunny, there is a wireframe that is complete for a potential replacement for Scope. This isn't formalized. But I've had a chance to see some wireframes on really building out the DEX, and it's a lot. So I'm probably giving away too much. There's something coming, so just stay tuned for that. When you're voting on the new proposal, we'll post a minor update. We have to meet with we have to have an initial kickoff meeting with the consensus leadership group, which of course is going to be Didi, Arco, the BCG group, and the core team. Dado and I are going to be working over the next couple of days, possibly a week, in terms of finalizing. We have to get the multi-sig set up. There's just a little bit of cleaning up we have to do in terms of before we have that meeting. And then we'll build out a presentation and figure out the voting structure on how that's going to work. All of that will be completed, and then we'll deliver everything to the community through an announcement on how the voting is going to take place, and really maybe even transition to our first vote on here are the things that we're proposing to do with things like the supply issues, with things like our North Star and the fourth vertical. So there's a lot of things that we're working on, and we'll disseminate that to the community, and so that everybody can participate and contribute to the vision. Yep, we answered that question in terms of liquidity for the DEX. Weeks trading, yeah, that's been, I know Nick was working with Weeks on that. I personally don't have an update on that because I know that Nick's been working on that, but I'll see if I can provide an update on that shortly. Yeah, I think that's it, guys. So thank you so much for joining us today. Dado, thanks again for hopping on. Thanks again for all your work.
My pleasure.
We have a lot of work to do. There's a lot of things that is coming down the pipe. Let's see. One last question. All right, Jason, let me throw you in here. Will art streaming work on POD? When do you think it'll be available for licensing? Yeah, so streaming, POD is going to take some time, in my opinion. This is really a question for Nick because Nick's tackling that. But just in my talks with Nick, I think that POD is a revenue source that is immediately available, and it's not really a common feature in other art marketplaces. I know Nick hates that term, but just in the interest of simplicity, I'm just going to say marketplace. There is no POD features out there, so it will generate some revenue. And I think after that, the streaming is really a B2B solution. and it's pretty difficult to launch the streaming because it requires a sales team. It requires a little more legwork in order to get that launched. So I think that will be after POD for sure. And I think that Nick will be able to speak to that once he does his first AMA on exhibit or space, or, however he's going to do it. But he'll be able to tackle that. Do you have any plans to clean up the open incentives? Yep. Nick, all of these things, all of the open incentives are going to be closed out, such as, sneakers and anything else. I know Biz is working on that. And Nick is actively working on it as we speak. So everything will be closed out before the final migration. Yeah. Please think of True Level before streaming. Oh, absolutely. True Level will definitely be before streaming. I can 100% attest to that. True Level is probably 95% done. I think Nick is just going to close out POD, get the MVP done, and then at that point, True Level is going to be an integral solution. So it's 95% done. It's just a matter of fine-tuning it and then hitting the go button, and then it goes live. So Nick will have an update on that. But yes, thank you for bringing that up. I don't think POD will have an API to Amazon. I think it's Gelato is still going to be the primary vendor, but perhaps I don't know if Amazon has their own lab, their color lab where they do prints in large format and books and merchandise and that sort of thing. However, that might be something interesting to do with stores, where people can basically send all the products to Amazon for fulfillment and then do an API through Exhibit, and you can sell your Amazon store through your Exhibit store. I guess there could be something done there, but Nick will be able to take a look at that. No more questions, Jason. All right, good. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for joining us. I know that this was really high level stuff, but it is super, super important that we let you know kind of how everything is panning out, how we're cleaning everything up, how we're dividing things up. We're dividing and conquering. We've got the addition of a strategy expert who's really going to be facilitating a lot of the high level strategy solutions that we need to, get some traction for Vitruveo. And we really appreciate you guys being patient. We'll have some more updates. Look out for the update for the Vlox server. You'll get the invite shortly. And then I can kind of speak to some of the things on the gaming design document and that sort of thing. They're now working on the branding assets in terms of logo design and sample trailer and artwork and that sort of thing. So it's progressing very quickly. So I'm excited to deliver some updates there. But thanks again for joining us, guys. Have a great week, and we'll see you in the Discord. Take care.
Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.